My name's Lynne Alana Delaney. I'm an actress in Los Angeles and recently got to add the titles of director and writer to my repertoire, I guess, with the first feature film that we produced, the Remake. And we're here today with Chris on Hellblazer.biz.
Everyone, I have the delight and pleasure of the company of Lynne Alana Delaney this evening, or in the middle of the day for you, I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Good old time zones, eh?
Yeah, noontime in Los Angeles. It's actually quite nice.
Yeah, I can imagine it'd be nice and hot, whereas over here it's 8 p.m. and it's raining, it's freezing cold,
Oh,
and it's miserable.
we've been luckier than usual with our weather, although we could probably use a little rain.
Mm. Yeah, I think so from what I've seen of news reports. Uh,
Hmm.
you could have had some of the snow that's been in Florida. That would have been.
Yeah, or we can luckily we can escape to the mountains very quickly here, so we
Yeah,
get a
true.
little.
Yeah, the mountains aren't too far away for you.
No.
Excellent. I do appreciate you coming on, and like I just mentioned there, I know you've got your new film out, so I'm very, very fortunate to talk to you about that, and looking forward to finding out more about you and more about the film and inspirations and things like that. So as I'm sure you've answered the questions multiple times before. I'm sure one more won't hurt.
Oh no, but always happy to talk about my baby, my first feature film.
Excellent. And at least you get to talk to the guy with a giggle is my new
Yes,
hashtag, because everybody tells me about my giggle. In
I
fact,
like it.
Thanks.
Nice.
I was actually I did a premiere 3 weeks ago for another independent film here in the UK. I just went as an attendee, and I was absolutely gobsmacked because there were it was obviously full of other actors and everything there, and people were coming up to me, and a composer came up to me and says, "I know who you are. I recognise your giggle." And
Oh,
they'd heard the director's interview, my director, before I'd even said who I was. He was, "I know you," and I was like, obviously that made me feel really good that people I'd never met knew who I was. So
exactly. Your giggle preceded you.
it did, yeah. I said, "I better stop doing that, really," and he goes, "No, it's infectious, so
No,
keep it going."
it'll be your identifier for everyone.
It
So
is, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It started as a nervous giggle, but I'm trying to control it. I
Well, now
just
you can use.
exactly. I believe in smiling and laughter, and makes the world a
Yeah.
better place. So
Oh, it does. It
yeah,
makes a big difference.
it does indeed. Okay,
Yeah.
brilliant. So the first question I have for you, Lynn, is,
Hmm.
I mean, you really do have an extensive resume in front of the camera, which I've noticed. So what made you decide to take that leap and go behind the camera and actually write as well? Not just one of the. You've taken on two roles there.
Yeah, yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot more challenging than I thought it would be,
Mhm.
and but it was really a fabulous learning experience. I think what happened was my husband and I both came back into acting. We had started out when we were very young in theater, and then we got away from it. Just life got in the way, and we went off in different directions. And then we came kind of in middle age, and we said, you know what? It's really our passion. It's really something we want to get back to.
Mhm.
So we both came back into acting, but of course we had a huge gap where other people hadn't in their careers, and it was kind of like, well, what are we going to do to kind of jumpstart and to get enough out there so that we could stimulate our acting careers? And because of independent filming, we were able to basically make up our minds, you know what, we could do this. We could make our own film and give ourselves the types of roles for our age that we were always looking for,
Mhm.
and kind of run with it and see what happened. We didn't have a lot of experience behind the camera, but with a lot of good people around and a lot of challenging effort, we ended up, I think, being very successful with it. We're very, very happy to have gotten distribution with Vision Films, and it's not easy with independent films. There's so much competition out there,
Yeah.
and were relatively unknowns. So we're really grateful to them and for all the people that have supported us to be able to get it out there.
No, it's fantastic. It's really nice to hear that kind of story. I know 'cause um, without wanting to take this back to myself, I used to act in theatre. I used to love the theatre and acting and stuff when I was in my late teens in school, and I did it for my qualifications. But I stopped and gave it up for 20 odd years. So I'm now in my 40s, and I'm refinding through talking to you guys. I started, talking to actors, directors, and stuff. The passion has just basically completely filled me. So I'm starting to find my way back. In independent film has been that way as well. I was in one last year. I had a few lines in it as well, which was fantastic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Well, that's kind of the when we started talking about it, I said, well, as long as we're going to do that, why don't we do a film that
mhm,
is about second chances, about having an opportunity and going after your dreams? And that's pretty much the premise that runs through the film. And I wrote it that way on purpose because I was so grateful that we were able to really get back to what we wanted and we were excited about again, and to do something like that. And I thought, well, who knows? Maybe somebody else will get inspired by it too.
exactly. No, that's great. I mean, I did see that in one of the things you'd written was that how you'd sort of come into it, and because you wanted to do that second chance, and that's when I was reading it, and it just clicked with me because I was thinking, I really do want to watch the movie again to see, because I was like, that's me. That's this. I want to be able to
Yeah,
get that
I would say
inspiration to take a second
it's
chance.
probably designed for a little, for a mature audience because it is about second chances. And if
Yeah.
you haven't got to that point in your life yet, you may not be able to relate to it. But it's also just a lighthearted, sweet comedy.
Mhm.
And it's, just a little romp. It shows a little bit of background of Hollywood and making a film. And I think, so there's a little bit of something for everyone, but it's probably for people that are maybe unhappy with what they're doing or have always wanted to do something else but
Mhm.
never quite moved towards it. It might spark something in them.
No, that's fantastic, and yeah, everything rings true because I spent 20 years regretting a few little decisions I'd made. So, but now it's yeah, I'm say talking to likes of yourself who've gone out there and you've done it, and you've had that second chance, and you've been successful with it. It is a real booster. So yeah, it's such a fantastic kind of movie to make and show the world basically that you don't have to just give up and resign to what you've done for so long. You can change. Just take that step and
Yeah,
just
and
do it.
also for filmmakers because it's not. I mean, the our production company is my husband, my
Hmm.
brother as a cinematographer, and myself, and we didn't have a lot of behind the camera experience, and but we were able to pull together a good team that could help us, and we made a very, very low cost independent film. So for anyone that really has that kind of drive,
Hmm.
I think, maybe hopefully the fact that we completed it and we finally got it out there would
Hmm.
be a good incentive for them too.
Fantastic. And I mean, you mentioned there about the production company obviously being a very close knit family affair as well. How long has it taken you to get from the idea to in your head to the release itself?
I think actually from the concept of it, it was about a little over 3 years
Hmm.
because I hadn't written a script. And when we started talking about it, and we played with the idea, we had done one or two shorts working on other people's productions, not our own though.
Yeah.
And so we kind of said, well, are we going to do a short or what are we going to do? And then we said, you know what, let's just go for a feature film, a feature length film. And I really like the idea of going back and doing a throwback type of film
Hmm.
because kind of with the same concept as my husband and I, we were actors originally. So it's about veteran actors that go back, and they had actually in the script they had been in a film together
Yeah.
as
When the,
co-eds, and they're able to go back. So it was kind of using that concept that I was hoping that would kind of resonate with people. So from start to finish, it took us probably 3 years to get it out there, at least to the public.
Brilliant, excellent. And I'm going to throw this one as well because I do know obviously the they the two characters, the main characters, they'd done one in their younger years and they'd fallen in love and romance. Were those based on anyone at all? Because I mean, there are quite a few. I think if I can think, I can't name any, and I probably wouldn't for a libel reason. I was going to say quite a few in the 50s and those kind of movies where the actors and the leads did start romances with each other, and then as you see the years go on, it gets rocky. So it's really cool to be able to have a film where you can see what might have happened if people had that sort of relationship at the beginning, been separated many years, and then come back again.
Yeah, I think there were so many couples, especially back in the day when those films were being made, that did, hook up and were ended up together for at least a while. And it does in Hollywood. It's like you kind of also they say, well, can they work together? Would there be a problem?
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of plays with that idea and what might have happened, like you said, and what they could have come up with if they were pulled back together to do a remake of an earlier film.
Fantastic. No, it sounds like it is a great plot to have for a film. It really is. It's one that I think is going to be has been received and will be received very, very well as well, due to the fact that you've got with everything going on in the world, it's nice to have such a nice, like you say, a nice rom-com, a traditional, like a proper little rom-com back in the world again, just to make people smile. And
Yeah, it's definitely no political content, no anything else that anybody can worry about. It's just for fun. It's just like the films of the 60s and 70s that people went to be entertained and forget about what was going on.
Exactly.
So that's just it's a very light little film. The I kind of had this theme, and I've written a couple of the screenplays since, and it's to keep kind of a social comment. Basically, is the only running theme behind all of them, so that there's a little bit of something to get people to think about, like going back or second chances, or maybe taking a chance in this one to other things in the other films, so that there's a little bit of. I've always been a big purporter of positive thinking. Yeah. So I would like people to think about persistence and going after their dreams, and it is possible. So hopefully that carries through in some of my other ones too.
Fantastic, and that positive mental attitude is the way to get through life, I think, and especially in your profession, having a positive mental attitude is something that is definitely needed, because I found it from just doing this show for 2 years. There are a lot of downs, to get with it, and if you don't have that positivity and that passion. I mean, you can. I do suffer anxiety. I mean, I had one the other day where I won't tell you who, but I had a lovely email from a manager who turned around and said they would rather not be interviewed on your podcast. And I was like, there's a polite way to say things and there's a rude way to say things, and But if people didn't have a passion, I mean, so I was just using that as an example. If you got something like that and if you didn't, and you didn't have that positive attitude of okay, whatever, let's move on, then that could theoretically destroy. I mean, it quite hit me, to be honest, because I thought it was quite a blunt comment.
Yeah, that's odd. I don't know. I mean, I think that it's probably, and every industry has some of it, where you need to keep up and you need to get, but it is because it's so personal with actors when they do something, and the criticism is so strong that you do have to bolster yourself up, and I think it's constant. It's a daily thing that you have to do. There's a lot of downtimes in between, and in a way, that's one of the reasons I had started writing. I've written before, but not for screen, and I wrote because we had free time in between. We don't stay even when we're full-time actors. We're not busy every single day acting. Yeah. So we do have downtime, and we have times when we feel frustrated, like nothing's going to happen. I'm stuck. Will I ever act again? So.
Yeah, definitely. And the fact that you have been writing in those times as well is actually extremely good, because you've been using your talents and putting them elsewhere while you are having downtime from the actual acting role.
Yeah, it helps. It helps keep me busy for sure.
Well, yeah, there is that. So that's, but it's good, and I say, and I mean, that could be one of the reasons why the remake's out there, because you had that inspiration to write, and then think, let's get it done, and look where it's got you.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. You've landed a film that's got a worldwide release, and it's So yeah, got your name right out there as well, more than it was already.
Yes, thank you.
Brilliant.
I
So
probably took on a little much more than I anticipated, but yeah, it was
yeah.
definitely.
So how? Okay, moving on from there. So how did you find the whole process then? If you if you think because it must be a hell of a process to get through.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it too is, people ask me now, would you do another film? And I
Hmm.
said, well, yes, but not on the ultra low budget that we did it on the first time. We had to wear, which I've been criticized for, wearing too many hats in this production just to be able to get it out there.
Hmm.
We didn't have the luxury of hiring individuals to do everything,
Yeah.
on the film like most big films do. So, my husband jokes about having to run out and get the donuts for everyone in the morning on the cast and crew because somebody had to do it, and
Hmm.
everybody else seemed tied up at the moment. And he's going, okay, I'm not on camera today. I'll go. And so we were all doing, everything basically to keep it going
Yeah.
and during filming and things like that. And we didn't have the budget
Hmm.
to do a lot of the things that we would have liked to do on the film, or to do even. We gave it the best quality we could for the budget that we had,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, then once it's out there, though, it's competing with everybody. The $150 million budgets from studios
Hmm.
to down to independent films. So it gets. Like I said, I've learned a lot in the process. And one of the things I learned is I need a bigger budget so I don't have to do everything.
Yeah. No, that's very true. But I think I've said this to several people because I'm a big supporter of independent films, and I think that you can get a much nicer and a much better story and character development, as from what I know, in a independent film, because I think, and forgive me if I'm totally off wrong here, but I think because you're working together and you're really close knit working together, the actors, the crew, and everyone, you
Yeah.
produce something. It's made out of love, and that really does come across on the screen in the performances and the way things are done. And it doesn't matter how big or small the budget is. It's what the result end result is, and because all been through that process together, and rather than I mean, you can have a big budget Hollywood movie, which I'm sure you'd love to have one day. So I'm never going to knock that yet, but I think that differs because of the budget size, because of the location, because of this, that, and the other. You do lose a bit of a personal feel like you have on independent films. So I just love being able to see that in a film when I'm watching one like yours or other independent films that I've seen. You can tell that there's a much more personality in the film.
Yeah, there's a thread that goes through it, I think, because of the people that are in it, and everybody's working towards the same goal. It's when on a big budget film, things are more compartmentalized, and people don't cross over and do things together. But I mean, we had people that were holding up backdrops for us when something was going on, and we're in the
Hmm.
middle of a scene and we want to keep going. And there was one of the actors, in order because he wasn't on screen right then, so he runs over and does something like that. It's got to change the feel of a film.
Yeah.
And and yes, there are flaws. There's things that you can't do on a shoestring budget. But I think all in all, it gets more to the core of filmmaking
Hmm.
and what people really want to do and show people. And the character driven part too is because part of it is because those are the films that studios aren't doing nowadays.
Yeah.
They are character-driven little pieces, and those are the kind that we can budget. I mean, we can film in someone's garage and do a
Hmm.
set and things like that that you couldn't do for like a big car chase scene with crashes and things
Yeah.
like that on a tiny budget. So we stick to a little more traditional screenplays in
Hmm.
order to be able to function and to do a low budget film.
Yeah, no, that's definitely it's a really great answer to hear. To have that as well. And I mean, you do learn so much. I mean, I was speaking to fantastic people from another independent film the other day, and I didn't know, for example, they were telling me how theirs is a Western, but there was never any shots of people on the horses because it costs a whole lot more to have someone, being filmed riding a horse than it is. Yeah. So it's
liability even for the film would probably be too costly at the time to be able to do it.
Yeah. And another guy I know, one of the first films I ever did, a British film, they turned around and they said I think their budget was the same. The budget for the whole film was less than the food budget for Star Wars: Force Awakens, which was quite.
I believe it, and we did. I mean, the biggest chunk besides salaries for our cast and crew was the food.
Yeah.
Because we had some of our equipment, we had most of our people, and we all did double duty on all the jobs. So yeah, the food budget was enormous for the whole production. So I can see how that would happen.
Yeah, excellent. So when it comes to casting, like we mentioned before, obviously you do have a stellar cast in the film as well. Sally Kellerman, over 60 years of experience in the business, which is fantastic. You've got Larry King as well, obviously very well known over in the States. He's well known all over, I think, really. How did you find casting? I mean, how did you go about casting the roles? What kind of people were you looking for in them?
Well, actually, what happened? Our first one was Larry King, and
okay.
We have kind of a cute thing. When we just started talking about it, I just started writing the screenplay, and we had gone to the opening of one of the Brooklyn Water Bagel franchises here, and Larry happens to be the spokesperson for them because he's always supported the Brooklyn Dodgers now out in LA with the Dodgers. So he is the spokesperson for them, and he came to the opening. It was a friend of ours who opened one of the franchises. And so we met him. And after I went home, because it was a story about actors who had a film coming out that would possibly be interviewed by somebody like Larry King, I said to my husband, I said, what do you think about asking Larry to be in the film? Now, we weren't friends. We weren't, we had just met him. And he said, yeah, go for it. With our budget, we almost laughed that we wouldn't be able to. And so I said, well, we have nothing to lose. I contacted my friend who ran the franchise, and she said, well, I don't really have any direct contact with him, but he hangs out kind of at our Brooklyn Water Bagel in Beverly Hills. And that's kind of his mainstay because of where he lives. So he comes down there, and he's there quite often. So I didn't have any other access to him and didn't know how to get to him through his manager. So I dropped off a script there with a note and my business card and asked him to take a look at the script. And by the time I had it, and I had written in a scene for him. And I said, take a look at it and see what you think. And he called me the next day.
Wow.
And he says, why don't you come over and we'll talk about it? But when I went to meet him, he hadn't read the script.
Right.
And I said, oh, I thought you would have read it. And he goes, no, what would I be playing? And I said, oh, yourself as an interviewer? And he said, oh, I always have to play myself. He said, I want to play something else. I said, okay, maybe next film we'll have you play something else. But I assumed that was it. And he said, well, I'll have my people take a look at it and I'll get back to you. And we kept chit-chatting and over coffee, and finally I thought, okay, I should probably leave. But before I left, he told me, okay, I'll do it.
Wow.
And I was stunned. I mean, we hadn't discussed basically. I mean, he knew it was a very ultra-low budget film. And, he didn't really know much except what I just told him about the script. So we were very lucky to start with him. And the others came because after Larry was involved, I thought, ooh, if we had some veteran actors, because it's kind of a whole throwback feel to it, like, June Lockhart, who was Lassie's mom, and Lost in Space and things like that. Wouldn't that be fun to kind of get that vibe going? Yeah. And after we ended up having June involved, who plays my mother, actually in the film, and looks very much like my mother. When I met her, my husband kind of had been back and forth with her manager, trying to ask her to be involved. He said, well, why don't we get together? So we got together for tea in the afternoon. And when she saw me, she said, oh, now I know why you asked me. You look like me, so we could do this. Yeah. And so we went on from there, and then we we had the luck of getting Robert Romanos, who was from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. If some of your fans out there might know him,
Hmm.
and we had met him, and we thought he'd be perfect for one of the characters. So we were able to work that as part of kind of the theme of the whole movie, and by getting people that were actually, around for that
Yeah.
long and in the business. So we were excited.
Fantastic, and again, going back to the feel of being in a cast where you get on so you can get on so well, the experience that those guys do bring, because they were around. I'm not being detrimental to their age, but they were around in that era, and they were around in those times, so they'd be able to bring all of that experience and all of that knowledge and everything to the film to make it much more alive.
Yeah, and June Lockhart is now 93. She's seen a
Whoa.
lot of Hollywood, and she says, "Oh, if you knew some of the stories I could tell." Yeah,
Oh
it
yeah,
was kind of cute.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, someone like that, I'd love to talk to on my show as well, because I could just
Oh
sit.
yeah.
You just sit and listen and listen to the stories coming out. Not that she'd probably
Yeah.
tell them because she's stupid.
She's a lot. She's a lot. But she might not be able to tell some of
Yeah,
them.
very true. Exactly. So no, I mean that is fantastic, and it's a great way to get the cast as well. It kind of stands me in hope because I've got my business cards that I give out to actors whenever I see them as well, to say, "Will you come on my show?" So and now and then they do. So there is a way just to be able to, like you said, it's taking that chance, taking that opportunity, and just going for
Yeah.
it. That's you.
No, we were very fortunate that we were able to get to them because usually it's harder,
Mhm.
and that they were willing to do it. It's not easy because we are such a low budget film, but we did go through the effort of doing all the processing to be a Screen Actors Guild production, so that we could have these people working that were union on the film. So I think that helped, that we were basically were jumping through the hoops that we needed to do to be able to get them.
Yeah, definitely. That's something else as well that I keep forgetting about when making a film, because they've got, especially you've got SAG, AFRA over there as well, and over here we've got equity, so they've got to be people have got to be unionised, and you can't, and it's very very complicated just to, even in that respect, it
It
can be.
is. It's a lot more paperwork, and we have a lot of things that we need to do as far as, registering and liability and things like that
Hmm.
that are required. So we can't really skimp too much on certain areas, which then, of course, we have to cut in other areas, like getting a well-known director to direct your first film.
No, that's great, and like you say, I am overwhelmed at the bowled over the way you managed to get Larry King and everyone involved with just conversations like that. Because I say it is tough, because going through managers, I found that, like I've mentioned before, with all due respect, and I will say for Nicole, Michelle, and PPMG, the ones who got us in touch, because they're the exception, that they'd be like doctors, receptionists, because they're just like the wolf at the door to stop people. To stop people like me, I guess, who just
No, it just in general, and they are. I mean, that is their job. So, to
exactly
be able, yeah, to be able
filter
to
out.
reach to them, yeah,
Exactly, exactly.
was
Uh,
good. Yeah.
so that was fantastic. I mean, were there any standout moments for you during this? I'm sure there were. Any like real like funny moments, or anything that sort of stood out for you during the filming?
We had a lot of snafus, things that happened, during filming. Again, I said we didn't have a lot of experience, and we were pulling crews together, and sometimes we were short. The lighting guy couldn't make it, and we ended up we filmed predominantly on weekends
Hmm.
because the talent that we were using, they couldn't afford to work for us if they had to give up another job during the week.
Right.
So most everyone, they're working actors, so they have to be available for auditions and things like that, so they
Hmm.
couldn't commit. So we ended up, like a lot of independent filmmakers, we were shooting a lot of weekends. So it took us almost 4 months to film, but we only shot 33 days.
Right.
So I think most of it revolved around that, trying to get people in the right place at the right time, and we were able to use some model homes for sets,
Hmm.
and we had to juggle because they weren't available
Right.
because they needed to be shown as model homes.
Hmm.
So we had to really work around other people's schedules and try to get everything done. So those were some of the funny things, just trying to juggle everything and get it in the right place at the right time.
Fantastic. And I imagine if they're model homes as well, that you had to put everything back right in the same place afterwards as well.
We were taking lots of pictures to make sure we remembered where everything was, so we didn't touch anything, and we could put it back together.
Yeah,
and we were cleaning up and vacuuming afterwards because we didn't have a cleaning crew coming behind us. So.
Wow, it really was every hand on deck. So.
Oh, it was grassroots filming for sure. We just we did everything except guerrilla. Well, we did guerrilla shoot one scene, but yeah, otherwise we did we pretty much had to do everything ourselves.
Excellent, excellent. And that being said, I will say, I mean, seeing the trailer and stuff, you wouldn't be able to tell that. I'll just say that from now. Looking at that production of seeing what's come through, of what the various, you can't tell, you wouldn't be able to tell that it's that low budget. It does come across very, very clear, and something that would come out, that does come out of Hollywood. I couldn't distinguish it in my limited capacity, but that's as a viewer, that's my opinion. It looks very, very well presented, and if you hadn't have told me all that, I would never have guessed.
Maybe I shouldn't have.
I know.
No, but I appreciate that because we worked really, really hard to try to get the best quality we could to make it look good and sound good. And of course we had problems, here and there, and we even had our sound equipment go into a fountain one day. But we had we were lucky, and I think that in the end we were all really happy with the end product.
Fantastic. And I will be watching it, don't worry. And as I say, just from what I've seen of it and the clips I have seen, that is my opinion, an impression of it. So there. Who would you love to work with in the future?
Oh goodness, there's so many out there.
Who would be your
I don't know. I've got another screenplay that and we're very close to possibly having somebody to fund it. That it's kind of, I would say, maybe a La La Land with a Latin beat kind of film, and I would love to have Rita Moreno be one of my. It's a lovely supporting role in it, and I haven't approached her yet, but I think she would be fabulous for this one part in it.
Fantastic. That sounds great. It really does.
And of course, my husband, he's going to be in
it. yeah. Make sure you put him.
Yeah, he wanted to know if he has to audition for it, and I said, well, we'll see.
Yeah, make him. Yeah, put him through it. Exactly. Well, if you need someone who's a British guy who might just be on a TV screen behind just even reading a news article, you know where to find me.
Hey. You never know. It might work its way into one of my scripts. You never know.
Excellent. And as a sort of a parting question, what kind of advice would you give someone starting out on their own now, or someone like we did touch on it before, someone who's got that dream at their stage where they don't know what to do with it? What kind of advice would you give, because you've made that and you've followed it?
I would say don't wait. One of the things that triggered and got us, the three of us, basically all motivated to do this was looking at things and the expression, if not now, when? When are you going to do it? Are you going to keep putting it off? Are you going to, I didn't have the time to go back and do, 4 years of film school. And to really, I would love to learn my craft better, and to, I wouldn't have had to make all the mistakes I made filming and try to correct them in post and, things like that. And we had to cut out scenes or parts of scenes because of sound issues and, things like that hurt when you write a script. So I would say just dive in and do it. Just try. Learn as much as you possibly can about what you're doing. And but just go for it. It's the best learning experience I think I've ever had. Just jumping in and doing it. Scary, but good.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, Lynne, for your time. I truly appreciate it. I know it's extremely busy for you at the moment, so taking time out of your schedule to talk to me is something I really, really do appreciate, and thank you. Thank you to everybody who has listened or watched this. I hope you've all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed chatting to Lynne. And you better keep your eyes out as well, because as a result of this, I'll be also talking to Ruben Roberto Gomez, who is also starring in the film, and one of the producers too. And that'll be coming up very, very soon in the next few weeks. So thanks again also to PPMG, who got got me in touch with Lynne to provide the interview. And yeah, this has been Chris Gordon on Hellblazer Biz with Lynne Alana Delaney. I'll see you next time.